With the world in absolute chaos going through this global pandemic, we need an escape from reality. Well, that's where wrestling has been coming into play for most of us. Sure, there's no fans in the stands, but Drew McIntyre has been an excellent champion to lead us through these dark times. He's a badass babyface who has destroyed absolutely every man that has stepped in front of him, including the beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar. But we aren't here to talk about how great Drew McIntyre has been, we're here to talk about who could potentially take the WWE Championship away from the Scottish psychopath. So I've compiled a list of 8 names, 4 of which are realistic options and 4 are just a fantasy that, a lot of us would like to see. With SummerSlam just around the corner, a lot of rumblings have surfaced and people are predicting that Randy Orton could be Drew McIntyre's next opponent. This comes obviously after Drew McIntyre will dominate Dolph Ziggler at Extreme Rules. Randy Orton could be the next man to step up and face Drew McIntyre. Recently, Orton has aligned himself with Andrade and Garza, and it's been awesome to watch those 3 on Monday Night Raw along with Zelina Vega. Orton and Edge produced the greatest wrestling match ever at Backlash, where he defeated the Rated R Superstar. Alright, it wasn't the greatest match ever, but honestly, it was an excellent showing from 2 guys nowhere near their prime. I could see Orton defeating Drew at some point between SummerSlam and Survivor Series, and then potentially holding the title until Edge is back from his triceps injury so they can have their inevitable grudge match. Aleister Black has been one of my favorite wrestlers over the past number of years, from his phenomenal entrance music to the Black Mass finisher that pops me every single time. Black has star written all over him, but since losing his NXT Championship to Tommaso Ciampa thanks to Johnny Gargano interference, and his main roster call-up, he hasn't really been given the time to shine. Paul Heyman had built Aleister Black up pretty well over the last number of months, but then WWE seemingly had nowhere else for the Dutch Destroyer to go, so he's just been floating around the mid-card and upper mid-card for a while, and soon, and I mean hopefully soon, he'll get the big push that he deserves straight to the top. Since the inception of the Monday Night Messiah gimmick, Seth Rollins has lost more big-time matches than he's won. He's lost to Aleister Black, he lost to Kevin Owens twice at WrestleMania, and he also lost at Money in the Bank to Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. The gimmick gained an enormous amount of momentum, but since he lost Rezar, he also lost Akam because for some reason WWE can't just have one. I don't understand. He could have had a big behemoth and Akam still there, but that's another point. Anyways, he lost Rezar due to injury, and now it was just him for a little while. Then Murphy showed back up, and now I believe he has Austin Theory, and it's just getting all over the place. I don't really understand. With all this said, Rollins lost to McIntyre at the pay-per-view Money in the Bank. Now, here in a couple of weeks, if not in a week, he's going to take the eye of Rey Mysterio out of his socket at Extreme Rules. Okay, Rey Mysterio could end up winning the match, but with Rollins taking all these big losses lately, I'm pretty sure he's just going to rip the eyeball out, maybe even Dominic's. He may rip everyone's eyeballs out. I don't know how Seth Rollins is going to react at Extreme Rules. Rollins needs to get back on track. If AOP can come back and flank Rollins again and have Murphy, and Austin Theory can stay, he can go, I don't know, whatever. But if he has Murphy and we can get back to where Rollins was handing Murphy these wins and getting that little story built in, just kept building up. It was beautifully told. Whether they wanted it to be told or not, I don't know. But I could definitely see Rollins and Murphy kind of elevating up to the point in where Rollins gets a lot of help, beats McIntyre, and then potentially Buddy Murphy could turn his back on the Messiah, or Rollins could kick him out of the group. Either way, and those two may be able to feud over the WWE title sometime next year. Since Kevin Owens defeated Seth Rollins at WrestleMania not just once, but twice, he hasn't really done anything. He's been floating around the mid to upper mid card, kind of where Aleister Black, Seth Rollins is, Rey Mysterio, all that. He's been filler for the Rey Mysterio-Seth Rollins feud, and that'll end at Extreme Rules. We talked about that, where eyeballs are going to be all over the place. Kevin Owens is actually facing Seth Rollins in a rematch this Monday of that WrestleMania match, knowing WWE they're just going to give the win back to Seth Rollins. Also, they don't like to book a face versus face championship match too often, so I could definitely see them turning Kevin Owens heel once again just for a title match against Drew. Either way, Kevin Owens is well deserving of a shot at the WWE Championship, and we could see it in the next couple of months. Boom! Adam Cole, baby! Just lost his NXT Championship in a pretty good champion versus champion match against Keith Lee. Congratulations, Keith Lee. That feels to me like the end of the Undisputed Era in NXT. Now that they have all lost their championships, remember the prophecy. The whole Undisputed Era were draped in gold, and now none of them have gold. So anyways, Adam Cole could go up to the main roster. Best way to do it, in my opinion, at SummerSlam. After Drew McIntyre's in a hard-fought match against like a Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, someone like that, probably an Orton, defeats them, and right after the match, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, the Undisputed Era show up, decimate the babyface champion Drew McIntyre, and set up Adam Cole, Drew McIntyre, one-on-one for the WWE Championship. A couple of years ago in 2017, Shawn Michaels guest refereed a match where Drew McIntyre defended the NXT Championship against Adam Cole amid the shenanigans of the Undisputed Era. But with Cole and the UE now well known and very established in NXT, this could be one of the best matches of both men's careers. Yes, I know. Roman Reigns isn't going to wrestle anytime soon. And yes, he is technically on SmackDown. That's why this is a fantasy and a reality at the same time. But I'm not saying that Drew McIntyre would even lose the WWE Championship anytime soon. And with the brand split meaning absolutely nothing during these times, and to be honest, anytime really, we could easily see Roman Reigns coming back to Monday Night Raw instead of SmackDown. I mean, hell, Drew McIntyre could hold the championship for another year. He's been an absolute monster as a champion. They've booked him well. He's smart, great babyface. People love him. But then it takes me back to this. When Roman came back from his leukemia diagnosis, which was an amazing moment, McIntyre is one of the biggest heels in WWE. And Roman hadn't wrestled in a long time, but that didn't stop the big dog from taking down Drew and pushing him back down to the mid-card where he definitely doesn't belong. Now, Roman is definitely one of the biggest superstars of the past decade, and he didn't put Drew over back at WrestleMania, so what makes you think he'll put him over if he comes back to Raw? Roman's just going to take the title from him. Don't you forget about Keith. No, you're not watching Cultaholic. You're not watching Tom Campbell. But shout out to those guys. I'm a nobody, I'm nothing, but they're killing it. So subscribe to them, subscribe to me, do your thing. Anyways, Keith Lee, NXT North American Champion, NXT Champion, double champ, biggest champ of NXT versus Drew McIntyre. The Moment Maker has recently stated that he'd love a chance to face off with Drew McIntyre, and I'm all for it. You know, Lee could reign supreme over NXT for years to come, but do we really think that he will? Possibly, but if Vince McMahon sees Lee for what he is, and that is an absolute star, he won't hesitate to tell Mr. Hunter Hearst Helmsley that he wants Lee to face off with McIntyre in a big old beef battle. Though in order for Lee to be able to take the title off of Drew, he would more than likely have to drop the NXT and North American Championships. Karrion Kross is the front runner for the NXT title, but would he drop it so soon as he just won it last week? We all knew Brock Lesnar would be on this list. I mean, I had to put him in here, and I put him at number 1 because, I mean, he's probably going to be the guy. Right now, who else would it be? You know, they aren't building anybody up. I'd love to see Keith Lee or an Adam Cole. Aleister Black needs to get built up to do it, but I mean, it probably is going to be Brock Lesnar, right? I hope not. I hope not. I hope when Lesnar returns to WWE programming, he goes after someone else or somebody comes after him. And I actually have another video coming out on that, so we'll end it with that. Go watch that video when it comes out. Who Brock Lesnar should face when he comes back to WWE. Please not Drew. Just please not Drew. But who would you like to see face off against Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship? Who do you think realistically could take the title from him? And who do you just want to see take the title from him or at least fight him? He can hold it for another 10 years. I don't care. I love Drew. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Peace out.